if you're having coffee with me, I would welcome you to these, my tangle of words, and tell you that you must make the small things count. Which is why I think I'm out here daydreaming how to teach mathematics to a colony of ants. Not that I was particularly good at maths. In fact, back in school, I rather strongly disliked the subject. I couldn't see the practicality of some of the concepts in real life situations. But just because one cannot find or understand the correlation between things doesn't mean that a connection does not exist. As they say, absence of proof is not evidence of absence. If you're having coffee with me, I'll tell you that under direction of Statutory Instrument 265 of 2019 and as amended by the Statutory Instrument 205 of 2021, Zimbabwe will be conducting a census of its population from the period of 21 April 2022 to 30 April 2022, with 20 April being referred to as Census Night. Traditionally, a census is conducted in Zimbabwe every 10 years. The last one was in 2012, the one before that in 2002, and in 1992, moving in a 10-year arithmetic progression. Where were you on the night of the 20th of April? That's one of the first questions you get asked, followed by the one on who else slept at this residence on the night in question. I gather they're having a reference point for the census night, making it easy to account for people. What follows is about close to an hour of interviewing with a census enumerator, going through a questionnaire which has questions ranging from marital status down to the number of people who reside at your address, and of course, where you were during the last census. The questions followed a somewhat broad spectrum, and to one without a prior awareness that it was a population and housing census, they would come across as a bit weird, even invasive. Why would you want to know how old my mom was when she married my dad? Well, apart from finding out the demographics, according to the spokesman of Zimstat, the census has several modules which include functionality, immigrations, mortality, education, labor force, and housing characteristics. When the exercise is completed, the government will have a comprehensive understanding of the employment situation, access to basic services, and people's standards of living. One commendable thing about the exercise is how they embraced paperless enumeration. Using the traditional paper method meant that the process took almost 2 years to get results, and now within 6 months the full results will be out, while preliminary ones being out by mid-year. Now, if the seeming efficiency of the census process could translate into facets of our everyday life, but every day one wakes up to inquire about the rate of the United States dollar to the Zimbabwean dollar, as if it's a patient on life support and you're bracing for that midnight phone call. If you're having coffee with me, I'll tell you that in what's been a busy past week for the central bank, I woke up to a press statement in response to a paper by the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industry on the currency situation. I hadn't read the paper they were responding to, but the response by the Reserve Bank made me look up the paper in question to see what exactly these captains of industry had to say. While what they had to say had merit to it, I did take it as, imagine asking a bunch of lions how they can eat more antelope, and the antelope being us, the everyday consumers. If you're having coffee with me, I'll tell you bread has gone up again. If you recall from my last post, I mentioned how the new $100 Zimbabwean note could not buy a loaf of bread. Well, now you need close to 4 of those bad boys to buy a loaf of bread. Perhaps one of the questions in the census should have been how many meals do people eat a day? Or maybe a trust index on the democratic process to see how much faith that people have in their government. I mean, if they wanted to know whether I had a radio or not, they could also use that opportunity to better understand their population. But maybe they should just let still waters be. What's the standard of life when people live in areas where just small rain and the rivers flood? and it becomes inaccessible. My last coffee share was on bridges, and I've crossed a few more bridges in the past week. I've taken time to just enjoy the scenery and take pictures. That's what counts. What's been happening in your neck of the woods?